Ciao Blender artist and welcome back to my channel. Today we're in a slightly different location as I visit my parents and I delayed a little bit my comeback to the UK. In the past weeks, a lot of users asked me to create a more beginner-friendly tutorial, and I thought that I could work on something like. So I decided to start from the very basic, and in this tutorial I will teach you how to move around the 3D space. This will be a 6-part tutorial. We will start from the 3D space, we will move to setting up the background images, then we will model our 3D chair, we will smooth the chair, we will light it, and in the end we will render it. So let's jump to the first part of the tutorial. The very first moment you will open Blender, you will be asked to choose if you want to select with left or right click. The new version of Blender by default selects with left click. I started to use Blender in 2014 when the right click was the default, and it has some advanced advantages, such as the fact that when you select, you don't move the shape you are selecting. This is completely up to you, but for my tutorials I usually use right click. So when you open Blender for the first time after you install it, you will find this nice window with the graphic of the moment. Every release of Blender will have a different graphic. On the left side you will generate a new file and you can select among different modes, and on the right side you will have the last files you worked on. If you click out, you can see the interface. Now let me turn on the screencast. That allows me to show you what I am clicking. So when I click something, this will appear. Okay, so when I click something, this will appear on the left hand right side of the screen. So let's start understanding how to move in the 3D space. There are different ways to move depending on what kind of mouse you are using. I use a Apple mouse that has a sensitive area in the center. So when I move with my finger on this sensitive area, I can rotate around the main shape. If you are on PC, this can be achieved pressing the middle mouse button, unless you have a sensitive area as well. And clicking the middle mouse button, you can do more or less the same, dragging the mouse, of course. If you want to pan, what you have to press is Ctrl using the middle mouse button or the sensitive area. In this case, I am pressing Ctrl on my keyboard, and I am moving, zooming in and zooming out. If you want to pan instead, you have to press Shift and again middle mouse button or sensitive area on your mouse. This way you can pan left, right, or top and bottom. And that's it. These are the three main movements you will have to use in Blender. Now, when you open Blender, you will see the default cube, and I am selecting it with the right click of my mouse, the default light and the default camera. This is to help you setting up a scene without leaving you with an empty space. When you start working and you don't want to work with these kind of elements, all you have to do is pressing A, and A means select all, and press X to delete these elements. You will be asked to delete them. Another important element in Blender is the 3D cursor. That's this kind of pointer. Most of the 3D applications don't use a 3D cursor, but it is an extremely useful tool. I am placing the 3D cursor left clicking in an area. Now, the 3D cursor is the place where your meshes and 3D shapes will appear when you generate them. I explain better. When you want to create a new shape or to add a new shape, you simply press Shift plus A, and you will get the Add menu. The Add menu allows you to add different elements in your 3D space. The main menu you will use is the Mesh menu that allows you to add meshes. And again, here you can find your cube. If I press cube, a cube appears with the pivot point. That's the area that positions the cube in the 3D space set on your 3D space. The 3D space is really useful to change the pivot point of an object, for example, or to position an object in a specific area of your screen. For example, pressing Shift S, you can decide where to position the 3D cursor, mainly to the word origin. So as you can see, I pressed Shift S and I moved my 3D cursor to the origin of the word. That's the origin of the Cartesian axis. That's X, Y, and Z. And in this place, the values are 0, 0, 0. If you go in the item menu and you have your cube selected, you will notice that this cube has an X position of 1.1541, Y 3.3, and Z 2.0665. You can reposition the cube simply selecting the first, dragging it down, and then pressing 0. Pressing 0. So I reset the three location indicators X, Y, and Z. And as you can see, the object, and I am panning and zooming, has the pivot point exactly where is the 3D cursor. But let's say that I am moving the object again away, and I am moving it using the location panel. What you can do, having your object selected, you can press Shift S and you can select Selection to Cursor. So basically what you selected goes to the 3D cursor. If I move the 3D cursor and I press Shift S and Selection to Cursor, the cube goes to the cursor. At the moment it may seem a little bit abstract, but let's say that I want to position this cube, and I do in this way again, pressing 0. I position the cube into the center, and I want to create a new cube that has the center in this vertex of the main cube. The first thing that I have to do is enter in edit mode, where I can select and alter simple vertices of my cube, select this vertex of my cube, press Shift S and cursor to selected, exit pressing Tab the edit mode, so you change modes pressing Tab or using this inspector window, so you can go into object, edit mode, sculpt mode, and so on. I deselect my cube, and so we learn how to deselect. I can press A twice, or if I have my cube selected, I can simply press Alt A, and with Alt A I deselect everything. Alt usually reverses the command of combination of keys. So if with A you select everything, with Alt A you deselect everything. In any case, we have the 3D cursor set on this vertex of our cube. I press Shift A to add. I can add a new cube, and as you can see, the center of the cube is now exactly where the vertex of that cube was. The other commands I would like to teach you to move around the 3D space are those to reset the position, the rotation, and the scale. If you press G, you can grab an object and you can move it around. I don't want to say move because if you remember grab, you will be able to remember also the key that you use to move the object. So from now on I will say grab. So if I press G, I can grab an object, but let's say that first I want to delete this cube. So how do we delete? X, delete. Then I want the 3D cursor to the center, so Shift S, cursor toward origin. I can remove any value from this, setting 0, so I can select one of the columns, write 0, type 0, and as you can see, the cube now is on the X location 0, so 0, 2 point something, and 5 point something. But there is another way to do it, and it is simply pressing A plus the alteration you want to set to 0, in this case G, because G means grab, and if I press A plus G, I reset the movement that I set on my object. The same works for scale. So if you want to scale an object, you press S and you scale up or down the object, and as you can see in the scale panel, you will see the object increasing or decreasing. If I want to reset the scale, again I can set these three values to 1 because the main value for the scale is 1, or I can press Alt S and scale it to 0, and again with rotation, as you can imagine, R to rotate an object. If I want to set the rotation to 0, I can simply set or type 0 to the three values, or Alt R and I set the rotation to 0. I think that for the first lesson this can be everything. I suggest you to try adding shapes, moving around, and I will see you for the next tutorial where I will teach you how to import background images. I hope you enjoyed this week's tutorial. Subscribe to my channel and I wait for you in the next part where we will learn how to set the background images to model our chair. Ciao!